Hey everybody, it's Thursday night and I've been down here tinkering around with the waterfall for about the last, I don't know, 20-30 minutes, something like that. Thought I would fill the room with some smoky ambiance. And I thought I'd give everybody a little bit of a look at what I've slapped together so far. This is my first wet test since I've redone all of the rubber on it. I'm 100% confident that we're not going to find any more of those white spots developing where the insufficient sealant would absorb the water. It would turn white, and that would be a telltale sign of any problem spots I had. So I will be checking it over the next few days, and none of the things I've put in here so far are in any way remotely permanent. They're just kind of thrown in there just for, basically just to get my creative juices flowing and have a little look at it. One of the things I want to work out is a way to have the water flow in and look fairly natural. That's not too bad. Let me turn the overhead light on and we'll be able to have a more realistic look at it. So I've basically just got one rock propped up against this piece of wood, and then I've got this rock just sort of lying over top of where the intake hose comes in to kind of mask it a little bit, sort of break up those lines and make it a little less obvious that there's a hose right there. So I've thought about putting some sort of cup or container there, and then I could put some filter material in it. And then I thought, well, it seems kind of dumb to put the filter on the top end of the system. It would make much more sense to fashion some sort of box or container and put the pump in it, and then I can put some filter material around the pump, and so everything that goes through it will just get drawn through the filter material. I'm not worried about a biofilter. The tank itself will be the biofilter, but it probably wouldn't kill me to put some sort of mechanical filtration in there and get, some physical debris removed. So that's probably something we'll wind up doing. As far as these plants, these are things I've just, again, thrown around. This is sort of stock waiting for me to be able to do something with it. I've got some mosses growing in there. I've got some stone crop. I'm not sure what this bulb is, but I've got a little bulb growing here. And this looks dead, but I think we're going to get some more new growth out of this. This is sensitive fern right here, and so we're probably even going to get some fern growing up out of that. Likewise, we got some creeping jenny, and we got some more fern over here. This just looks like some little weeds growing in there from, just being outside. And then, of course, this stuff is just sitting in there doing its things. We've got the rocks over here staying nice and moist so that the moss doesn't dry out too much. And then we've got this rock here and this rock here to sort of prevent splashing. And then this rock down here, if you can see, that is in there to sort of slow the water down. When I resealed the inside of this channel here, I really just smeared a lot of silicone in there, and it went from being sort of a rough channel that had the water really sort of backing up and slowing down as it moved through there. Now it just sluices right on through because it's just smooth rubber on the inside. It's like running through a hose, and it just comes flying out the other end. And I do have, well, you can't see it anymore, but underneath of this there's like an area that's supposed to catch the water and create some rippling effect and some splashing, and it kind of does, but it kind of just shoots right over it now. So we're going to have to see what we're going to do about that. What we're probably going to wind up doing is getting a lot of much smaller stones, and then I can actually just position them where I want them and glue them in place with silicone. So these great big stones are all just sort of grabbed out of the aquarium and I've had lying around on the floor. They're more going to be for in-tank use and for tank decor as opposed to on the Paludarium part. The waterfall part of it here is going to actually have smaller rocks. I'm going to have little bits of moss and wood and, all kinds of stuff is going to be attached to this, and it's going to look very much like a just a sort of a living piece of the outside. I did get a little carried away with the painting. I kind of caught myself yesterday. I remembered that this is basically supposed to just be a background and it doesn't have to look hyper realistic. And so I kind of backed off on going in for more and more layers of color and so on and so forth. So I think we've got a pretty good base background that will blend in nicely. Did have one person suggest that it's awfully shiny, and it is. That's been bugging me from day one. One of the things I attempted to do to address that is adding cornstarch to the silicone. If you'll remember how I used the mineral spirits as a paint thinner to sort of liquefy the silicone so I could paint it on there. If you want to make like a rubber material that you can mold into shapes, almost like a silly putty or like a Play-Doh, you can add cornstarch to silicone, and you got to add a lot of it, but all of a sudden you'll get to a point where it's workable. And at that point, you'll have about 5 minutes to mold it and shape it, and you can make it into like rubber molds. And then when it cures a few minutes later, you've got a nice hard piece of rubber, or sort of a bouncy, flexible piece of rubber, but it's a solid piece of rubber, and it's a very matte finish. The cornstarch takes that shine right off. So I experimented with trying to add just enough cornstarch that it would take the shine off, but it wouldn't make it too soft to use. And I never really got a satisfactory effect, and so we wound up with this sort of shiny, rubbery look. In my imagination, I think of it as sort of wet moss and wet algae and stuff like that, and that's why it's all bright and shiny. It's not rubbery at all in my mind. It's all mossy and shiny, and that's what I keep telling myself. And sooner or later, I'll believe it. And hopefully once we actually get some stuff growing in there, and we get some ferns and some leafy stuff, then it's going to disguise it a lot. I don't think we'll ever truly get, you know, mosses physically growing on the surface. Now we can take clumps of moss and I can lay them on there, but that's not going to be the same as actually having like lichens and stuff, and the way this moss is actually attached to that rock. I don't think we'll ever get that, because this is that mold-free silicone. So if it's mold-free, I don't see how mosses or lichen or algae or anything else is going to attach and grow to it either. And no, I'm not worried at all about the fish that are going to be in the tank. In fact, we're actually going to be putting some experimental fish in the tank very soon. I'm going to give this stuff a few more days to cure, and I genuinely believe once that's cured, we're not going to have any more problems. So we are going to be getting some little guppies in there. I got so many baby guppies that I need to create. You know, they're going to be feeder fish at some point anyway, so I'm going to put some guppies in here in the next few days, and we're going to see how well they fare after I do another water change or two. So make sure you're subscribed, and you won't miss any of that. This was a little more of an update than I expected it to be. I just wanted to give you a little look at what my waterfall tank here is starting to look like. It's beginning to shape up. So if you're subscribed, you won't miss any of the updates. So thanks for watching this one, and I will see you real soon on the next one.